ouch. Just ouch. Like I said, going into this movie, I had high expectations off of Hotel Transylvania 1 with its twists and its turns. The one big twist, which, spoiler alert for Hotel Transylvania 1, of how, you know, the truth about how Mavis's mother died was being killed by humans, and that's why Dracula hates humans. But that was a great twist, and ultimately he had to get over that in the first movie. Why did we do a rehash of the same story in Hotel Transylvania 2? First, let's just very briefly talk about the characters. We have Adam Sandler as Dracula, of course. We have Andy Samberg as Jonathan. Selena Gomez, of course, as Mavis. Kevin James as Frankenstein. Steve Buscemi as Wayne, the werewolf, and Frankenstein, duh. David Spade as Griffin, the Invisible Man. Keegan something as Murray, who's the bandaged Sandman. Asher Blink something. Sorry, it's not giving me the full thing. Asher Blinkoff as Dennis in Hotel Transylvania 2. And we've got a couple other people that I'm not going to bother mentioning. So let's talk about them in their character names, obviously. Oh, wait. There is one more character I should mention who I don't even... Oh, there he is. Mel Brooks is Vlad. So let's talk about this. User reviews have been generally rated this a 7. I wanted to go in there and rate it like a 9 like I did with Hotel Transylvania. But I question if it's even worth a 6 now. So let's talk about the movie. CinematicCritic, fresh off from seeing Hotel Transylvania 2. Now, as I've been saying the past 2.5 minutes, it starts out rather disappointing. Act 1 is very long. It's just a whole bunch of setup. And when Act 2 finally does begin, it's really forgettable. Really, nothing happens to the last 30 minutes of the movie. Nothing of sustenance until the last 30 minutes of the movie. And I get this is a kid's film. Let's talk about what they do right in that case. They spend about, 15, 20 minutes saying how great everything is. We get the marriage. We get to see the marriage of Johnny to Mavis. We get to see we don't actually see the birth, but we get to see them have a child. And is he really that forgettable? Dennis, we get to see them with the child Dennis. And we get to see, as funny as the trailer makes it out to look, we get to see some very disappointing moments in between Dracula and Dennis. There really is none. Dennis has fun with Dracula, and with Mavis and with, of course, Jonathan. The disadvantage here is it really doesn't give Dennis any character. He's sort of just this thing, and I'm going to say it, that he's this thing that the three of them are kind of fighting over. Makes him kind of seem like property until the last Act 3, and I'll get to that. Forgive me. The other thing is this: there are sides taken in this, and I don't mean Vlad. I mean the whole time, Dracula is trying to keep Dennis from going away. And the way he has to do that is he has to get the kid's fangs to come out. And I'll talk about that. Another thing in Act 3 that I have a problem with. The one cute thing that I think going on here is... Let's see if I can find the voice actress in here. Probably not. I want to say Eunice. Whoever the girl werewolf was. Yeah, it's not going to say it on the main. But whoever the girl werewolf was, who Dennis kind of falls in love with, and I will say it now, towards the end, he mentions that she is his Zing. So that's kind of interesting. We'll talk about more when we get to Act 3. But anyway, they seem to be really good friends. All the monsters are kind of pushed off to the side. They're kind of forgotten. They don't spend as much time with the monsters as they did in the first film, with the exceptions, of course, being Frankenstein, the werewolf Wayne, Griffin, Maury, and basically it's up to them along with Dracula to try to get... the other thing is it's not very clear. 1 year after, it skips to 1 year later after the marriage, where they've been married a year. She takes her father out. Mavis takes her father Dracula out on a flight and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant." And you'd think that the reaction here would be like, "What?" But no, it's like, "Yes, the Dracula bloodline continues." Okay. Well, I can give the movie that. I guess Dracula would be happy that the bloodline continues. But then, after that just makes it more that there's an obsession. A quite unhealthy obsession with Dracula trying to get, the fangs out. And that could lead to some funny moments, but... basically, if you've seen the trailer, and I hate to say this, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen most of the movie. There are bits and pieces, and the trailer doesn't go together like the movie does, but it's given a lot of stuff away, which was not true in the least for Hotel Transylvania 1. So as Act 1 continues, they decide that, they don't think the hotel's safe. So Mavis goes with Johnny out to California to meet the parents, and one thing that I keep forgetting here is that after that 1 year, we skip another 4 years. With no time card, I might add. So they just kind of show it by Dennis's birthdays, how 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, almost 5 years old, and they mention it's only 1 week until he turns 5. And I guess if you only have until 5 years old to get your vampire fangs, which they were very clear about. I'll give them that. But after Mavis leaves with Johnny, and here's the real thing I really don't like. Johnny, who was a great character in Hotel Transylvania, he's a pushover in this. A pushover. He obeys Dracula's every command. He wants her to have fun, but not too much fun in the human world. And Johnny does just that. Johnny and Mavis really aren't paid attention to in this movie too much in late Act 1, early Act 2. As really all I can say is I don't have to give much away. There's not much to give away. Dracula actually tries a couple of different things. He tries shoving Dennis off of this big tall thing. One thing I will say, as for the movie's comedy, is he goes to this place where he learned how to get out his fangs, and he goes there, and it's kind of been modernized, as the camp director says, and everyone's doing like these team building exercises. I don't know if that quite worked, but anyway, nothing he does works. It all fails. And then he ends up getting captured and put in he ended up getting captured in a video. And this is the one thing I know. I know why this works. There are a couple moments in here where they do some of the vampire stereotypes, like they take a photo in the first couple of minutes, and of course Mavis and Dracula don't show up in the photo because vampires, if you've heard the lore, can't be photographed. So why is Dennis photographed? Or why is he in the video? Because he's not a vampire yet. Notice I said yet, and I'll get to that in Act 3 as well. So we're finishing up Act 1. Mavis sees this video on the internet despite Johnny trying to hide it, and she's furious, and she starts heading back for the hotel. Johnny warns him that they're coming, and after several more attempts, trying to show the kid how to be scary by having the other monsters, Griffin, Murray, Dennis, Griffin, Murray, Wanda, not. Oh, there we go. Grandpa Mike. No. No. There we go. Frankenstein, Wayne, the werewolf. Showing him how to be scary. Some of them succeed, and some of them, well, no, none of them succeed in really. Some of them get close, but like Frankenstein starts to scare some people, but then he ends up still giving them an autograph. I mean, it's been 5 years now, and that's just a little fast for me. I think that they could have done this a little better as an Act 1 and given me a little more Act 2, because there's virtually no Act 2. There's virtually no. Really, it feels like the only Act 2 is those 10 to 15 minutes at the camp. Act 1 is supposed to set up the story. Act 2 is supposed to let the story take its route, and Act 3 is supposed to be the resolution. So, having talked about Act 1 and the very short Act 2 at the camp, let's talk about Act 3. Mavis finds out, and she rushes back to the hotel. She finds out that Dracula has been trying to get his fangs out, which, she doesn't have an issue with him trying to get his fangs out. She has an issue with him not being able to accept who Dennis is. That, and the way that he went about it, like shoving him off of a giant tower, a rickety tower, which he does save him from, but still very risky. And that's where, out of nowhere, I guess that Mavis doesn't know about Vlad, or who he really is. Vlad is quickly mentioned in the beginning, and Dracula's like, no, you don't want to meet Vlad, and he tells that to Johnny, and Mavis invites Vlad to his great-grandson's, Dennis's fifth birthday party, and he gets there, and Dracula's like, we all have to pretend this is a masquerade. He's old school. He's never going to let us get away with this, humans and monsters together, staying in the same hotel. A clip which, by the way, is never used in the movie. It's never really shown that humans have fully integrated with monsters. I mean, it's shown, but it's never really paid that much attention to. There's a miss, and I think that one of the biggest issues is all growth on Dracula seems to have been forgotten from the last film. And Mavis does say this. She says, you've let humans into your hotel, and this is a line from the movie, you've let humans into your hotel, but you haven't let humans into your heart. What do you think the marriage of... So what? I'll give it this. He may have selected one human to love, and that's Johnny, in which case, he can't accept Dennis as a human. And this was the point, after an hour of boring, this was the point where I was like, finally, here goes the movie. And then it was over too fast. What was the runtime of this movie? This isn't going to tell me, is it? 89 minutes. So that would be an hour and 29 minutes, including credits. So let's say an hour of this was boring stuff, which gives me about, 29 minutes of content. Let's cut out the credit, about 25 minutes of actual good content in this movie. And I can see my face change, my reflection changing as I think about that. As I think about how the first movie was so great, and how this movie had about 25 minutes of content that I actually enjoyed. And I had to sit through an hour of, albeit funny, but not really needed stuff. They could have cut that half of that down. You should have introduced Vlad. And what's worse, the twists in this were predictable. Would Vlad give in the end? Yes. And there was not even any growth in that arc. Everyone knows it's going to happen. Vlad gives in the end. He sees the error of his ways. I think the only interesting thing was his bat. I don't know what they are. I want to say sidekicks, but they go evil. They're the actual villains of this. These bat sidekicks are the actual villains, and Vlad works alongside Dracula and Mavis. Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't come in till the very last minutes and to save Johnny. So there is that. He saves a human, and Jack calls him on. He's like, Vlad, you just saved a human. Because Vlad is Jack's dad. Vlad, Drac, dad. Huh. Funny how that works. But anyway, it's Mavis, it's Dracula, and the third bat is, as I said, Dennis. I think that this is where the one interesting aspect comes back into play. Him and Whitty, I believe, was her name. The one female werewolf who he says he has a zing with. So maybe there's something there. They just say they have a zing, and if you didn't see the first movie, so I have to take it back. If you didn't see the first movie, some of this won't make sense. I don't think this can stand alone on its own movie. But anyway, in order to protect her from this big monster bat that are supposed to be sidekicks to Vlad, but disloyal in every way, he turns into a bat and a very powerful vampire all at once. And there you go. So he turns into a vampire, and I was kind of hoping that this would be something to challenge that and not have him turn into a vampire, but no, of course he gets turned into a vampire. And do we even talk about the fact that he's a vampire? No. The one thing I will say is that we do finally get his opinion, and he says, I want to stay here at the hotel, and Mavis is like, okay. Well, okay, but that just happens. It just comes out of nowhere. And all this time, we've still not really gotten an opinion from Johnny. I don't want to go too much deeper into this as to not spoil it for you. But when it comes down to this, I think that the plot has suffered from repetitiveness, overuse, because a lot of the stuff that they did in the first film meant there wasn't much, or that they played it out as if there wasn't anything left to do, which is of course a lie. They could have done many different things here. The characters, what you see is not what you get when you come here. Let's talk rating. I will end this at 20 minutes. And it's 18:30 right now. As much as I want to give this a recommend, I can only give it a consider. Can I give it a 6 so-so? I did like the end, but guess what? I had high hopes for this. Your kids are going to like it. I actually went with my friend and their kids, and their kids were enjoying the 3D all the time. And I will say, as far as the 3D goes, that's some of the most impressive 3D I've ever seen. Again, I saw it at my Regal cinemas this time, so they've got good 3D projectors. But when it comes down to this, I am sorry, Sandler, but your bad streak continues. When I gave Hotel Transylvania a 9, a gotta go, great, I thought I would come in here and be able to at least give it a 7, a recommend, a go, pretty good. I want to give it the 6, the so-so, okay, a little disappointed, but with such high expectations, And it really did fall into just being a normal kids movie. So I'm sorry, but Hotel Transylvania, you get a 5, and disappointed. And I won't be buying this one.